Of all the beverages I make, this is tied for my husband's favorite along with the strawberry shake. This is the desert date shake. You ever have trouble figuring out how to spell desert, how many S's? Because a lot of times people spell it dessert. The way you remember desert versus dessert is that dessert has two S's, and you always say to yourself, well, which would I rather have two of? And the answer, hopefully, is dessert. Well, I used to live in the desert. I actually lived in Indio, California, which is the date capital of the world, very close to where the date shake was invented. Hadley's was famous for their date shakes, but they contained sugar and dairy. But luckily, people started making them without dairy or sugar. And my husband found this little juice place in La Quinta, and he had never had a date shake before, and he went nuts. And he was going there like every day. And they were $10 with a tip. That was like $12. That's a very expensive habit. So I said, this has got to stop. So I went to the place. They couldn't tell me the recipe, but legally they had to tell me the ingredients. So I just went home and I reversed engineered it. And I think it tastes just like the commercial ones and probably even healthier. So what you're going to need is a blender, preferably a high-powered one, and some non-dairy milk. Your beverages only will be as good as your non-dairy milk. So make sure you like what you use. And I prefer unsweetened vanilla almond milk, so that's what I use. When I teach at Rancho La Puerta, we make our own nut milks from scratch, and that is absolutely delicious. Not everybody does that every day, but if you can, that's a great way to go. We actually make this recipe there in my hands-on cooking classes, which I hope you'll join me for sometime. So in this measuring cup, I have the non-dairy milk and my dates. I soak my dates even when I use a high-powered blender because it just cuts down on the blending time. So I'm going to place it in my blender. And then I'm going to add my bananas. These are room temperature, but if you use frozen bananas, of course you want ripe ones and peeled first if you're going to freeze them. It's really, really thick, like a milkshake. So put my bananas in, and then all my spices. Now here's the thing. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I have been teaching this for probably 15 years. I take jars anytime I have spices. I put them in the dishwasher so the label comes off. If you don't buy spices that way, you can buy these jars for like 69 cents at a store, like a Bed Bath & Beyond if you have one near you. But when I have these jars, I place them all out because I know I'm going to be making this a lot. And there's lots of different ingredients in here. You can see there's a bunch of different things. It's just too much work to run here and there and measure. So I can see now that of these 12 jars, I only have 2 left, which means I don't wait till it's empty. I'm going to now make the other 11 so that we always have these. We can just grab them. Always smell it just to make sure I didn't make a mistake because these aren't labeled, but I keep these all separate. And then I can pour everything in the blender. Now, this is a vanilla date shake, but if you want a coffee date shake, you can add a half a tablespoon to a tablespoon of your favorite coffee herbal substitute. We like it both ways. So I'm going to blend. Then I'm going to pour it in a pretty glass with a glass straw. And again, if you use those frozen bananas, this will be so thick, you'll barely be able to pour it. And if you have any left over like I do, what you can do is make date shake popsicles simply by pouring the leftovers in this mold. So there you have a desert date shake. Have 2 of them.